Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is our weekly check-in with Lisa Durden. How are you doing today, Lisa?
Ooh, I'm hot AF. Ooh, every week my head done fell. What's left of it is thinning out. I need to I need to just do remember Mr. Clean, that character with the bald head on top
Yes.
of the pot, the cleaning products. I mean, I might, but that's like a lot of work. You got to cut your hair every 2 weeks. So I'm gonna just see where it takes me. But that's pretty much my issue for the day.
I totally understand. I had locks I had two sets of locks, and they can get very hot in the summertime.
These are locks. I curl them, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I think you could rock though a little number one, a little half. Yes, yes. I think you could. Most
I had
definitely.
a hot top fade before back in the 80s.
Okay, excuse me. All right. Okay, look at you.
Had a slight little Gumby. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I had a couple of bald heads. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So today is actually July 4th, which is the Independence Day. And in a previous conversation, you said you really don't too much celebrate July 4th, but particularly July 4th in this climate. Could you talk about what does all of that mean to you?
It don't mean shit. July 4th don't mean nothing. It's just another day. Now, since I have not been in corporate America in a million years, I don't even know what day July 4th is until July 4th rolls up on my black ass. When I was working in corporate America, if it fell on a day of the week, we got it off, and I didn't mind having the day off just for the sake of the day off. But for me, looking at it as any kind of significance other than we weren't independent, it wasn't beneficial to black people and slaves. Our Independence Day is June 19th, called Juneteenth, when we were freed, or the remainder of us were freed. Juneteenth, June 19th. Other than that, it's just more rhetoric that America tries to do to try to shape the fake narrative that, America's great. Like the Christopher Columbus Day. How are you celebrating a rapist, a murderer, for discovering people who were already in a place that was their own? So it continues to piss me off. I mean, I'm not going to go out there marching about it and saying, let's undo the national holiday, but it still pisses me off. Not that white people are celebrating this day, because I would understand why they're celebrating this day. Their own structure told them this is a great day for y'all. So they wouldn't give a crap about what the day really means to black people, or what was happening for us. But I find it interesting. A girl wrote online today, black. She wrote, I should have shared it. She wrote, so let me ask y'all a question. Are we still allowed to celebrate 4th of July or no? Now, I don't know if she thought that was funny. That's not funny to me. Like and I laugh at dumb stuff. I can laugh at your mama jokes. I can laugh at fart jokes, but that in this climate right now, that's not funny to me. So I chose not to say nothing on her site because it would have been negative to her. So that kind of thing. So even, I don't know if she was joking or she was trying to joke or she really wants to celebrate it. Why would a black person, we all know what this is. We all know the slavery, the history of slavery in this country, and the Independence Day, 4th of July was not Independence Day for us, right? Now, if I'm not right? So even if you don't know the minutia of it all, you know the fundamentals, you know the gist, because you could go in Dunkin' Donuts in any hood and see a bunch of black men sitting around playing chess in Dunkin' Donuts talking this shit all day. You know that character on In Living Color, the guy in jail? The one...
the long-winded one who like, my brother, let me tell you about
the masturbation
serendipity of the
complication of the masturbation of the proclamation, like, so we all know a brother like that, right? They read all the time and they pontificate, So you heard it from your uncle on the corner, your mama, somebody then told you that this is not Independence Day for us. And in the South, the Civil War was not won by the South.
Right. I mean, we're talking about 1776. So that's 87 years before the Emancipation Proclamation was drawn by Abraham Lincoln. What I've been seeing a lot on the airwaves is people are discovering this I don't know if it was a speech or it was just something that Frederick Douglass wrote, and it was, "What is July 4th to the American slave?" And it talks about exactly what you were saying. July 4th doesn't mean anything to me because it does not represent my independence. In fact, it actually solidifies, these men coming together, rich white slave owners coming together, and creating a document.
To dap up.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
now people are discovering this document, and it just feels like, in my opinion, how much we are so miseducated in so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are just finding out about Tulsa and Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
People are just finding out about these things. But it just shows, in my opinion, how invisible a lot of this is, or how people have selective kind of listening in terms of what they will engage and what they will not. So.
Mm-hmm. 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 So to me, Black people celebrating it is bothersome. If you just feel like, hey y'all, since I got the day off from work and we go just come a barbecue for having the day off sake, I'm gonna come eat a piece of barbecue chicken. I won't eat the ribs, but I'm not doing it in celebration of. So I'm talking about in celebration of. There's nothing to celebrate.
Right. So let's talk about another thing that we don't need to celebrate, and that is the rise of the Karens. Okay.
Ooh-wee.
So the Karens, or this Karen, has become a name that kind of designates a certain type of white woman who uses her white womanhood, who weaponizes her white womanhood and the historical protection that she has of law enforcement, and also mainstream society that will always view her as being fragile and the victim in a situation, in order to make false claims against Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes us back to the early 1900s, where women were crying rape and saying all these things. And if you know anything about Ida B. Wells, in all of her journalism, a lot of that stuff was not false. What are we gonna do about these Karens, girl?
Well, there's an Instagram page called Crazy Karens. Just go on that Instagram page, Crazy Karens. And on that Instagram page, you see all these different Karen stories about, I don't know if people don't know that the name Karen is, in parentheses or, quotes, to mean a behavior, right? White women having this behavior of crying foul because they can, and because they know they can weaponize police against Black people. They know that nothing's going to happen to them when they get caught out there on camera doing it. They know that if they want to call the cops about nothing, something will happen to us. And so we started calling it Karens and calling it Becky's and all that kind of stuff. So what are we going to do about the Karens? We can't do anything about the Karens other than keep that phone popping and add that video to the Instagram page called Crazy Karens, and keep speaking on it. Because again, you're not going to get white people to see the Karens because they act like they can't see. White people have what I call, not all, if the shoe fits and you're watching this, wear it. If it don't apply, let it fly. I'm only talking about those white people who act like they can't see. You're looking at things through white eyes, I call it. So you don't want to see. And there are some whites who see. I'm going to have one episode on Stop Brutalizing Black Bodies podcast. I'm going to have 2 episodes. One episode with white girls checking Karens. It'll be an all-white panel. One of the rare times I have all white people on my show, because my platform is with Black folks, but I have a lot of white people who can't stand the Karen and they want to speak on it. And then I have a panel of Black women that talks about the Karens, so I can get the juxtapositions of both sides. So keep that phone popping and keep calling out those Karens, and don't let those Karens slide. The thing that pissed me off the most about that fool, Kristen Cooper, Mr. Birdwatcher in Central Park, and his little friend, Karen, AKA Amy Cooper, no relation to Christian Cooper, the one who she weaponized the cops against. After the whole thing blew up, people don't realize what happened there. I'll just use that as an example. People said, when I trashed him and dragged him online, which we should call out Black folks, let white folks slide on stuff like that, you videotaped Karen and you put Karen's videotape on your page. he did that. It wasn't like somebody discovered the video. He posted the video on his page for a reason. People wrote me and I said, drag him because he is saying, oh, you know, what Karen did to him, she shouldn't go to jail and she shouldn't lose her job. I think it's harsh. So let's take it back. So his sister saw the post on his page and then posted his video on her Twitter. And that's how that went viral. I guess his sister's a little younger, so she has a bit of a different audience. So the sister posting Christian Cooper's video of the Karen in the park with the dog, choking the dog to death and screaming how he's gonna kill me, or she didn't say kill, but you know, assault me, or whatever she was saying on the phone, calling the cops because he just wanted her to leash the dog, which the rule in the park was to leash the dogs in this area. Now they love to tell Black folks how we not following rules. And they call the cops on us for not following rules, right? But we can't tell them to follow rules. How dare you, nigger, to tell me to follow the rules? I'm calling the cops on you. So that's what he did. So then it blew up because his sister posted it. Fast forward, I don't know what this brother's life was like after the fact. Did he get death threats? I don't know what happened, but she got immediately fired from her company. Luckily, there was no criminal charge because she was actually making a false report. That's against the law. She was using the cops to weaponize against the Black man. She was using the cop as a gun to shoot the Black man. The only reason why that Black man wasn't choked, tasered, dragged, beaten, arrested, handcuffed, killed, maimed, or any of that, brutalized, because people don't realize this one small note. By the time the cops came, they were both gone out of the park. They weren't there anymore. Because I guess it just kind of like, they just went about their merry way. He just videotaped and moved on, and they moved on. So they weren't there when the cops got there. So there was no incident. But when of course the video went viral, and you know, and she got fired, he's on Good Morning America and other shows, the Black man. This is what we got to check Black people. I'm sorry. And some Blacks get mad. We can't be arguing with each other. No, Black people are not arguing with Black people. We are pulling Black people up. So when we're in our community talking to each other, we can do that. Okay? So he's like, well, you know, I think it was harsh that she got fired, and no, she shouldn't get arrested. It was harsh. So would it have been, it wasn't harsh what she did and broke laws? You see how the mindset of Black people is sick and sad, like him, Blacks like him. He identifies with the oppressor. He looked at her as the victim. He felt like she suffered something. She suffered nothing. That's the problem. She was not held accountable for the laws she broke in calling the police and making a false report that this man was was harming her and her dog, when she was actually the one choking and killing her dog. Even though she got her dog from the ASPCA or something, they took the dog back for abuse. Okay, that's the problem. So here's the thing. When we have those scenarios, let these Karens be held accountable. Stop acting like the Karens are the victims. You're the victim. That man's the victim. And he still had empathy for Karen, AKA Amy Cooper.
Yeah, and that, I think there needs to be, even though, you know, these women are called Karens, and it's done in a lot of ways jokingly. Right. I think that that's also very dangerous, because these type of behaviors historically have shown that on the other end, there have been dead Black men, dead Black women, and communities that have totally been neutralized by white mobs. So I think we need to really be taking this. I mean, I know, you know, sometimes in order to, you know, deal with an issue with this much gravity, there's some lightness in order to deal with it. Black people, and I love what Tamika Mallory said about it. You can look it up. She talked about the Karens on the Red Table Talk. If you want to go find an episode on Jada Pinkett Smith's show. She said, listen, sometimes the only way Black people can actually function is if we find ways to not always be in a position of having a physical, visceral reaction to something just to survive.
So like, how do you deal with so much of this stuff we call caring? So it's almost like kind of a way to cope. It's just kind of a way to cope. Like when black folks say the sugar, you know, we know it's not, ain't no such thing as the sugar. So it's a jokeful way to say I have diabetes, but we say the sugar, you know, just as a way to lighten up a horrific situation that's happening to you that you have no control over. So it's almost like laughing at your pain, because that at the moment that's all you can do. So I don't think it's harmful that we're doing it jokingly. Not jokingly, we're going in on these Karens, but to say Karens, I get both sides, but I understand why we do it, you know. But
right, no, I'm not. Yeah. So I'm not saying that I don't understand. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But we're at a point where the video that I was talking about in Montclair, New Jersey, where there was a white woman who repeatedly went to a black family's place asking for a permit, and alleged or said that the husband had physically assaulted her and was in the middle of the street. And and thank God there were other white women there saying, no, you need to go home.
That's a problem in itself. That's a problem within itself, saying thank God white people were there, so their word is stronger than the victim. See, that's the problem right there. No, not thank God white.
No, I don't think God.
Thank God white people were there, because it didn't matter what nobody.
I disagree, but I disagree with you on that. I have to disagree with you on that, because you don't see a lot of white people pushing back the way in which she did. So that, in my opinion, and I guess this is.
It doesn't make it stronger. It's just a matter of fact. It's not thank God they were there. In other words, if they weren't there, it wouldn't have been valid.
I disagree.
The video camera made it valid. It just so happened that white people also agreed, and they were shooting her ass too. I don't care if nobody white was around. It's valid because the video showed it. Everything we have on camera is always valid, but the only time they want to have black eyes is when a white person has the white eyes. So even when you had, what's his name in California that kept saying, can we all get along? What's his name? There was a camera there too.
Rodney
King. But they always say, we don't know what happened before that. You know, it's always that. So our camera is not as good as the white person's camera. It don't matter. But yes, it's not helpful to me that they were white and they were there. It just makes me laugh that also the white folks was there saying, girl, you whack. But it's not thank God. Because that's scary to me, that if a white person's camera is not validating my camera, it ain't thank God. That's how.
That's not what I was saying in terms of
trying to break it down, girl. Break it down.
We already know the fact that there is no terms of value system or validation that goes on. But I don't know. For me, I've been getting a lot of white people. What can I do? What can I do? I'm not a white person. I don't know what it is that you can do. But to provide that example, these are something that you can do. I'm rolling with it. I'm totally rolling with it. And
I'm not against. That was great.
Right. The point that I was trying to make, though, is that she was saying all of this, and everybody was refuting what she said who saw it, and she still was going with her story. That is
because it has always worked.
Right.
She's there talking about how did they get a permit when on the books it said that the work they were doing in their backyard doesn't require a permit. She's all out of pocket, wrong as fuck, asking them about their permit on their own property. And see, this is why and blacks don't agree with me. Nobody agrees with me, not even cops, not even black cops. White people are not scared of black people. Please believe it. We keep saying they're doing that because they're scared of us. The cops are This white woman was out there by herself until all the whites came, and she was facing off with a black man and a black woman. She wasn't scared one bit. She had nobody backing her up. Her cousin wasn't with her. Her husband wasn't with her. She had nobody, because she knew that black man better not touch her white ass, because if he put his hands on her, he would be dead. They would bash his head open to the white meat and taser his ass down and make sure he hanged himself in the jail cell.
I 100% agree. Now, you have one person, I 100% agree with you on that. And that's why in these Karen videos that are coming up, you have these women in gas stations, saying all this. Now what you're seeing is they're getting binked, they're getting dinked, they're getting dragged. Before it was, oh, I have to, approach this as a Black person, have to approach this in a very calm manner, because if I don't, blah, 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 this is going to happen. So I agree with you. 100% agree with you. But that is just something to really talk about. I have to read this book. I haven't read this book in a very long time, but it's by a man by the name of Bobby E. Wright. He was a psychologist, but he was comparing a lot of this behavior to like a psychopathic or a sociopathic behavior of inflicting pain upon people and not caring. Like, it's just like a day I'm going to go drink my coffee, get this Black man arrested, thrown in jail, terrorized in front of the wife, the kids. Okay, so
absolutely.
But yeah.
Because it's like a child, right? I don't have kids, but I've been a kid, right? Well, I was a good kid, but some kids aren't good kids. It would not behoove the parent to keep giving into the kid who throws a temper tantrum. Because every time you feel embarrassed that the kid is throwing a tantrum in the supermarket because they want the candy or they want the ice cream, and you give it to them, it's going to be harder and harder to control. So this is why the Karens do what they do, because they get a payoff for it. Like a kid, when their parent can't tolerate the tantrum, then I would sit there and look at you like you stupid with that tantrum, and you're going to keep on having it. I'll walk away while you're having that tantrum. You ain't getting it. But they get payoffs. Now, in recent times, because of the whole visceral reaction towards physically seeing the police stare at that camera as they killed George Floyd, it made some white folks so sick they had to come out of the closet with their bullshit too. And many of them are now allies as well. So this is a moment in time where now the Karens are in a little bit of trouble, even with the white world. Not all, but they are. But before this, it wasn't a whole bunch of folks going against Karen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, I totally agree. And there were a whole bunch of people who dismissed their behavior and what it is that they call.
But maybe she thought this, and we don't know what. The big thing is we don't know what happened before that. Whenever there's a video, white folks would always say, we don't know what happened before that.
And I think, right, and I think particularly with the couple in Montclair, and I have to say I do know the couple. If it wasn't that they were two lawyers, I don't think that it would have gotten the perhaps traction that it had gotten. But anyway,
because it's another thing. What I don't like is when people. That's why I wish I could do this thing with Black media. When white media talks about these things, it's as if they try to say the value of a Black lawyer, the value of a Black man from Harvard, the value of this being a doctor that this happened to is more valuable than a crackhead who's Black. And I'm saying that to say that's what they call us. Or a person who is Black that works at the post office, or a person who's Black that just, is in a regular job, or whatever the case may be. You work at Burger King. Why is it that they love to throw out, they use our labels in a way in which is interesting. When we're getting killed by cops, it's a felon. When Karen is effing us up, he's a lawyer. Like, that's a problem. It doesn't matter about the labels of either or. It's the injustice only, and that's where it should end, full stop. I've had to correct Black people online talking about Black folks like that. I'm like, well, does it, with the Black guy that the cop stopped in front of his house and put him in handcuffs in Florida, he was going to deliver some masks to homeless people. Everywhere we went online, they were saying, and he was, this Black doctor was, no, which I understand the point of saying it, but the way you're saying it is as if his life is more valuable than the regular Black man walking down the street or Black woman walking down the street. It doesn't matter.
And I 100% agree. And also, you and I, you're from Jersey. I'm, living in Jersey for 12 years and being in Montclair, that city. I saw a lot of stuff with people online. Now, you don't know where these people might live, but they say that they live in Montclair. They're like, this is not Montclair. This is not the Montclair that I know. I would say, I don't know what Montclair you've been living in, because it has a reputation of being extremely racist, segregationist, and all those things. So I don't know what that was about, but
Montclair is anywhere USA. It's everywhere in the country. That's what Montclair is, anywhere USA.
Thank you. So there was a recent story about a woman murdered in the military.
Oh, Vanessa Guillen,
who went missing in March.
Well, before she went missing, this young lady was making complaints about this man. I keep forgetting his name. He happens to be a Black man, but she's in the military, so she made a complaint about this man sexually harassing her. She didn't make an official complaint with the military, which she should have, but she thought she was going to be retaliated against, which of course it's going to happen. About the sexual harassment, she did mention a little bit to some of her comrades or some of her equals or colleagues. She did tell them to stop. I don't know the details of the sexual harassment because she's now murdered, but that was going on, and nothing happened. It didn't go up to the higher ups, and then eventually she disappeared. And the mother was asking, well, where's my daughter? What's going on? Are y'all looking? So for a period of time, the military was doing absolutely nothing. And then eventually, because of the mother and the two sisters pushing the envelope, they did finally find her body. It was dismembered and burned. But that wasn't how she died. I think they buried her in a hole or something, and she died. They had to cut her up because I think initially she was raped. So the man raped her and dismembered her body. But what was foul, that was foul enough. His girlfriend helped. She's going to prison too. So the girlfriend helped, and people watch too much TV. They thought they were going to be able to burn her body and now get rid of the evidence. It's hard to burn a body. People watch too much TV thinking, when you see TV and you see a movie and they bash your head over, bash a bottle over your head and it just breaks. It's hard to break a bottle over your head. People don't realize it doesn't just break like that. Okay, and that's not real glass in the movie anyway. And so it's hard to burn a body. So when they started realizing the body wasn't burning fast, they started to dismember the body. So they found her. And so now fast forward, the story comes out. It happened a while back, but it's just coming out now. So now it's coming out. So now the discussion is being raised. It's not a new discussion. Once again, that the military is allowing this to happen to women still. I do not like the race war between the Latinos and the Blacks. That bothers me because, hold on, Latinos. This girl I had to bash on Facebook talking about how come I put her on blast. Her name is, and she blocked me. Sonia Vera from Newark. Sonia Vera from Newark talked about how in the world, what did she say? She said, she was killed by a Black man or white, where's the protest? No protested, no violent public outbursts, no one bashing the police or targeting them, no one looting and taking advantage of the situation. What about her? And how come she didn't get a golden casket? How come we just care about felons? So she's dropping all these things to mean George Floyd. She's talking about the protest of George Floyd to now try to, and she was a U.S. In the military, and she's not a felon, and she didn't get, listen, I had to check that bitch. Don't sit here and try to have a war between Black people and Latinos. Don't sit here and try to act like this young lady who was raped and murdered. Her life is more valuable than the Black man that you're calling a felon. Because I don't know none of that stuff about George Floyd to be true. They love to drag us and say we had a record. I don't care if he did commit a crime in his past. That's not the reason for him to be murdered. And there's no reason to have a competition between whose lives are more valuable. Now, I tried not to be totally off the rails with the girl and said, now, since I checked you on that, you sound like a racist and a white supremacist. The bottom line really should have been to your post that women, particularly women of color, no one cares about them. That's the bottom line. And that's a fact. And I did tell her that's a fact. So that's what you should have been dealing with instead of trying to now make your point by competing with Black people and Black men or Black anybody being killed, because they're doing it to all of us. Oh, you think you ain't Black because you Latino? They showed you, right? It's like Paul Mooney. You will get the nigger wake-up call. Mm-hmm. They didn't care about her body because she's not a white woman. If she was a white woman that their Black man did that to, they would have had him locked up and hanged by now. If a white woman in the military would have, see, military is interesting. It's like regular life. It's a hierarchy. Women in the military, period, they don't care about them, no matter what your race. Then when you start looking at women of different races, then now you have the hierarchy. They will care more about a white woman than a Latino woman, and care more about a Latino woman than a Black woman. But in general, the military don't care about no women. So if this black man would have done that to a black woman, we still wouldn't care. If this black man would have done it to a white woman, he would be dead. Well, although at the end he did commit suicide when they did discover it was him, he did die by suicide, as they call it. So because he knew he was done. So that part I didn't like. I didn't like the weaponizing of races and trying to make a race war between each other when it's not about that. Stop that.
Right.
But yes, the man was a monster. And I agree with her. Because she was a woman and a Latina woman, nobody cared. Now, there was a debate online that, well, we just found out about it. I don't mean nobody as in we didn't know. I'm talking about the military. Nobody cared to look when the mother was complaining. Nobody cared. I'm going to say nobody, those who were supposed to care. Not the public, because we can't care until we know. So the public, I'm not holding accountable for that until we knew about it, like we're talking now. So I did agree with the song until she, without the other racist mess she was talking, that is true. So that's a problem again with women of color. It's a problem. They didn't care about this girl. And even still now, I want to know, and nobody's raising this question, even though this idiot killed himself, there should be other arrests and investigations behind why didn't you get this asshole before now? Who are you? The sergeant? I don't know the titles. You should be brought down. Whoever in the military, whose ever job it was in the military to investigate this within the military, why aren't you fired? Why aren't you going through corporal? I don't know what they do within the military. That's still, to me, a big question mark. Because it was up to you to make sure this mother knew where her daughter was. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, you raised a lot of valid points. There was a lot of, not a lot, let me not quantify it, but I seen even in the George Floyd protests, Latinos, some Latinos, because there were a gang of Latinos that were riding hard. But there's been a lot of discussion within the Latino community to really have these really, really sit downs amongst themselves to talk about the racism that does exist. Because first of all, there are Black people, Latino is an ethnic category, it's not a racial category. So I think-
No, let's be real clear.
Right.
Latinos, Latin America is a place, right?
Right.
So right. Latinos are from Latin America.
It's an ethnic category, which is, right.
It morphed into, no, it's a location. It morphed into that over time, and we use it interchangeably, but Latinos are from Latin America. If you're not from Latin America, you're not a Latino. But I know we're using it interchangeably. Like we say Hispanic, it's not from, Hispanic doesn't belong, it's not a place. But just like Africans are from Africa, and African Americans are descendants of slaves that are still here like me, African Americans, Black means the diaspora. Black is not a place, it's you're from the African diaspora. So we have been using it interchangeably, but the fact is, if you're from Latin America, you're Latino. If you're not from Latin America, you're not Latino. But of course it's debatable, obviously, but I'm just being very
right. No, but I'm saying that is not actually definitive. That is not the definition, because a country like Belize is considered British, Anglophone. It's not considered Latin American, but there are people who identify as Latinos.
But that's my point. If you're not from Latin America, if you're not from Latin America, I can't get into people making maps and call and play. I'm talking about what is called Latin America. If you're not from there, whatever the square mileage is for Latin America, if you're not from Latin America, you're not Latino.
Right. Well, the problem is that geographically Latin America has changed.
That's everywhere, girl. That's everywhere.
That's another. So anyway, so the point that I was making is that there are a lot of Black people.
Yes.
Who are, who consider themselves, Latino, right?
Right.
And in the George Floyd protest, but this has been going on for the last couple of years, has been surfacing about Blackness and Latin identity, racism within the Latin community. And it was very interesting that you talked about this, because just last week, your girl, AOC,
Rubber, got dragged,
said that all, Latinos are of African descent. They're Black. And boy, she got taken through the ringer on that one.
And then no, because I went on her page, I went on her Twitter, and there were lots of folks who agreed, and they said why. So we always focus on the negatives. So many of folks dragged her, but many folks, and I was looking at some of the comments, yep, and some Latinos were like, yes, we are Black. We are from Africa. And one guy was like, we need to start having these discussions. Now, I am not going to force a person, as Lisa Durden, the person, to label themselves anything, because I'm a strong believer in, if you don't want to be labeled, then you don't have to be labeled. If you don't want to be labeled X, you don't have to be labeled X. So I'm talking generally speaking. Now, when I'm talking to individuals, I'm not going to call you something you don't want to be called. I'm not going to label you something you don't want to be labeled, because you have the right to feel the way you feel about yourself. But if we're having a general conversation here, and I'm not talking about a specific person, yes, I'm with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You're Black.
So yeah, so anyway, yep, all Latinos are not Black. I have to say that. AOC, you are absolutely wrong. If you go to Buenos Aires right now, because when a lot of countries in what is currently Latin America got their quote unquote independence, Spain shipped a whole bunch of Spaniards to these places, and Germans went to these places after World War II. So there are in fact European.
Well, that's the case everywhere. When you went to South Africa, when I say you're South African, you Black. But we know that 10% of South African is white. I'm not gonna call you Black, but you still South African because you lived there and you were born there. So we know that already.
No, people don't know that already. We know
that. We know we're not talking about the white folks that colonized places. We know we're not talking about that here. And we know that AOC is not talking about that. She's talking about the straight up Latinos.
To say somebody is Latino, then it's being somebody colonized.
No, that's not what she's trying to say. I know what you're saying.
I know what she's trying to say, but she's incorrect in what it is, what she's saying. She's
is very correct that you're Black if you're Latino. She's very correct.
I disagree. That's not true. That's not true. I love this.
So it's just like, okay, for example, like I'm not Southern, right? I'm not from the South. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, but I never let go of my heritage. I tell people all the time, if they say, where you're from, like, well, I'm from Newark, but I have a Southern background. My parents are from the South, and here's why. I always say that, even though I don't claim to be Southern. I always say I have a Southern background, because that's a part of my culture too. So just because it's washed away, and there's 2 more generations after me, my sister had kids, and if I had kids, they would be further removed from the South. I would have raised my kids that they need to know that. It doesn't matter now that it's not factually the issue. In terms of the actual factuals of me being born in the South, I was not. But I have Southern roots. So I think it's more the roots she's talking about than the actuality of the place and the colonization and all the picayune issues of it. That's why we are separate, because people like to pick apart it. She said, we all the same, let's get together. She don't mean the white skinned ones who were she don't mean the South Africans with white skin. The 10% of South Africans, we mean the South Africans.
So she doesn't mean all those Cubans that got Florida on lock and do anti-Trump protests and have been voting conservatively and Republican for the last
but 13% of the Black men voted for Trump too. You can't get into all that. You can't politicize race. Just because you vote for Trump,
she politicized race, but she politicized race.
No. What I'm saying, you can't. What I'm saying is, you're not Black because you voted for Trump. You still Black. So there are 15% of the Black men voted for Trump. I'm still claiming you as Black. I don't care who you vote for. You Black. Okay. That's what she's saying. You all Black. You can vote for who the hell you want. You still Black. Do people vote against their interests? Women do it every day. There's a lot of women that didn't vote for. Mostly white women did not vote for the white lady, Hillary Clinton. They voted against their own interests. That doesn't make them not a woman. Okay, so if that's the case,
doesn't make them Black either.
No, but it doesn't make them a man. So if we can't do it for women and say, well, then you're a man now because you voted for a man. You can't do that. You are still a woman no matter what you do when you do it. So we can't now juxtapose that with gender. Oh, well, since most women voted for Trump, they're men. Nah. You voted for Trump, you still black. If you voted for Trump and you were black.
Well, I know this for, yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
the identity, you talk about identity, we go all day, but a lot of those, the Cubans who do that
Right.
identify as white, just like, you know, you have even a lot of people from North Africa who immigrate over here, you know, who look like you, Lisa, and be like, I'm white. They're like, no,
I agree. That's why I agree with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You can't stop a person from saying anything about themselves, but I think it's laughable. So I've seen people with darker skin than me say that they're white, and I found it to be hilarious. However, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just bottom lined it. So do I agree with you? That happens every day. I still find it interesting. Like even when I looked at the movie Part 2, did you see Dark Girls?
I haven't. I gotta see that.
Dark Girls 1.
Yeah. I seen the first one. I haven't seen the second.
This is Dark Girls 2. In Dark Girls 1, this is how colorism is so effed up. I don't know if this is gonna relate, but in Dark Girls 1 and 2, I'm sitting there thinking, but you ain't dark. Like there were women that was your complexion talking about crying about what happened doing because they're dark. You're not even dark to me. You're not what I would call dark. So why were women in there your complexion talking about their dark skin and how they were screwed up? You're not even dark. So this is this whole colorism and skin and all, I don't care about your skin color. You just black. So in other words, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't present as black. Her hair is straight. Her skin is light. She sees herself as black because she said, we're all black. And I agree. So I'm not getting into skin color.
Right. But I have to say this though, but because phenotypically she doesn't look like somebody who would call herself black, there are allowances and privileges that she has. And so based on so the thing about it is that just even based on like the research that I did with specifically the Latino community in Newark and the ones who identify as black and Latino say that it's easy for somebody, it's easy for somebody like an AOC to say that because she can move through this easier than somebody who looks like a Celia Cruz or a Mara La Negra. Yes. So like that
it doesn't invalidate it. We can't hold her.
No, it doesn't invalidate it, but it does not. And I'm articulating what they were saying. Yeah, like it doesn't invalidate what she says, but it does not really deal with the pervasive colorism and racism that is happening
because of course, because it's way past Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's a 5-year-old. She's just got here 2 minutes ago. Please, let's not hang the world that on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that was going on before her grandmama was born. So that's true. You're correct. But it doesn't mean she shouldn't say the fact of it all. Now, yes, I do know that how she presents is going to give her some privilege, and I think she knows that too. But should we continue to disenfranchise her because of it? She's black. She knows it. She said it. I agree. But do I also agree that, girl, but you know, because how you look, I know that too. I'm aware of that too.
I'm going to take from the book of Lisa Durden, say, no, I have to correct her and tell her. I'm going to do that. So anyway. No, I have to correct her. Anyway, but no, it's really good. Now, I mean, I like it, and I like how she moves, but you know, politics is always politics. We always talk about that, you know. But you know, we shall see. But help them black skin as well as up your hood. Everybody. Okay. So moving on, but I wanted to say this before we moved on from black and brown women in the military.
That's terrible.
The killing of Vanessa Guillen, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly, but the killing of this young lady has sparked all of these black women who have been murdered or who have died under mysterious circumstances in the military, and saying this is not anything new. Correct. That, you know, and so I did a story years ago on a woman. I had to pull her up. Lavenna Johnson. She was a sergeant in the United States Army, and she was found dead in her tent. She was deployed, Baghdad, or somewhere in the Middle East. But she was found, and one of the things that I vividly remember is that her genitals had acid on them. Somebody had poured acid in order to
Cover up a rape or something.
Yes, it cover up the DNA and everything like that, and it was ruled a suicide. So like
you put acid in your own vagina. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. And then shoot yourself in the head as your vagina is burning up. Okay. Right. And all this, and her teeth were loose, and she had a black eye and all this stuff like that. So there's a lot.
She beat her own ass and then killed herself.
Yeah, and beat her own ass, poured acid on her vagina, and then shot herself in the head.
Yeah. She
so
quickly shot herself in the head and called it a day.
Right. And so there's this like, and that's so there's this thing that people are like, we really need to start, really need to talk about this, because there are a lot of these mysterious deaths. But moving on, I'm here in Italy. You are in Newark. You can't come over, Lisa. The EU has said, United States, y'all need to get it together. This coronavirus is just ridiculous. You can't come over. So there is this. It's a really interesting space because I'm almost kind of stuck. Because if I go over there, I was told that there's a possibility that I might not be able to be let back in for work. Okay. What do you think the U.S. needs to do about this?
Well, again, this is politicized. You know, it's interesting about the United States of America. You know, the United States of America loves to do stuff to others, but it can't be done to them. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, we had a travel ban on China from what, January?
Yes.
Which I agree with the right. We can do travel bans. Oh, but when people do travel, how dare you do one against us? Okay, one good turn deserves another. So if you want to be able to flex your muscles with travel bans because you feel like they have corona, or this is the reason why you're doing a travel ban, or whatever your reasons are for these travel bans when you do them over internet, it's not the first time we had travel bans in the history of the country, but now this is the reason, now the Ronas. Then they saw all of our Rona cases, you know, and they saw we have over 100,000 Rona cases, well, millions, but, you know, I guess some died, 100,000 died, or whatever the case may be. They figured we've done all these things to, I guess, get our numbers down. We're not going to have, you know, our numbers spike again by letting your Rona asses over in here, is why I guess what the EU's talking about. And I'm all for it. So my thing is, don't do to others what you don't want done to you. And you're not the big cheese in the world where I'm king and I do as I say, not as I do. That's the attitude and the arrogance of just American attitude, not individual people like us. I'm saying the ones in power and the structure of America and the leadership of America and how we walk and operate in these environments as we pull these strings. So I'm all for it.
Right. And, you know, at the height of Italy's, dealing with coronavirus, and I mean, just all of Europe, the Trump administration banned travel with the exception of, I think, the UK. So right. You're right. And let me tell you about, though, this idea of American, how do I want to put this?
Arrogance,
privilege, entitlement, American entitlement. Yes, today in the Italian news, there was a private jet that flew to Sardinia. Excuse me. A private jet that flew to Sardinia, which is a small island that belongs to Italy. It's off the coast of Italy. And it was about 15 people. 5 of them were American citizens. They flew from Colorado. In them going through, customs, the Italian government said, okay, all you 10 that have European passports, you could come in, you must be quarantined for 14 days, but you 5 Americans, you could take your American privilege, back up in that jet and kick rocks. And this is that American entitlement.
I've always said, and then listen, it doesn't make me less American. You know, when Black people talk about some of the issues that happen in this country against Blacks and people of color, or just as citizens of the world, like Americans as citizens of the world, they want to say that we're not patriotic. We're very patriotic. That's why we want to hold you accountable. That's why we want to hold you accountable. So we feel like sometimes America does all these things to other folks around the world, but the minute it happens to them, the same exact thing, they cry foul. And that's called not cool.
So with the coronavirus, and now you have about, I think it's like 10 or 11 states where the numbers are spiking or increasing again. And even I just read that New York saw a spike too, either today or yesterday in its numbers. What do you think schools should be doing in the United States come fall?
Oh, Lord, it's hard to say. If it were me, I would be scared to send my child to school, to be frank. Here's why. No matter how many things you put in place, safeties, like, are you going to make the classroom smaller to make it more social distancing? That could work. Are you going to put the plastic barriers between the desks? That could work. I don't know if they're doing that. Are you going to also implement the mask wearing in class with the kids and the teachers? I can get that. But so you can do all these safeties and protocols, as they say. But one thing that will not happen with kids, even high school kids, they're not going to be diligent.
College kids.
Well, college kids, it's a higher chance. It's not a great chance, but it's a higher chance because you're an adult. But even then, I'm gonna go with that too because it's not that much of a difference. So you might
it's not that much of a difference. They got hormones popping up all types of ways. Okay.
But you can't do it with kids, and the younger, the harder. So when you start talking about high school, you're at risk. Then you're saying a 5-year-old is just off the rails. They're gonna be touching each other, chasing, touching their face, hugging. It's just not going to work. So all I can tell you is, I don't know what the answer is. Do you never go back to school? So I feel like the reset and the restart of school, implement all the implement the safety measures that they're going to implement, the protocols, but you're going to get a spike in the numbers. It's just there's no way. It may be your kid and not yours. It's just no way to do it. I would be afraid to send my kid to school. I don't know what I would do if I had a school age child. Would I send them back? I mean, I'd have to think about what the protocols are. But at the end of the day, cafeteria, at the locker, you cannot enforce those protocols with children. It's not going to work.
And what a lot of parents, the dilemma that they're facing is that, do I send my child to school so I can go to work?
Correct.
Or do I keep my child home and possibly have to quit my job or find a job that is amenable? So there's just a lot.
It's a dilemma.
It's a serious dilemma that's going on. A lot of people don't know, especially if you don't have a support system in place. You don't have, parents or auntie
or grandmama or somebody's home, then retired or whatever. Of course. So would I judge a parent who sends their kid back to school? No, because to your point, all of those things are at play, right? I most likely, if I had to go back to work, I would have to send my kid back to school too, for all I know. But I would certainly not sleep at night. I would be very nervous. And I'm the one that'll tell you, I have zero faith and zero hope, and I'm of the mind that hope is not a plan. But the only time I use the word hope is if I have something that's happening out of my control. So if I must send my child to school because the law says I have to, then that's when I go, I hope they don't get coronas, because that's out of my control. That's where I just go hope. That's just kind of in the air, and I just hope that it's a numbers game, that my child it's a numbers game and doesn't get it, or it's a numbers game and they come up with a treatment for the coronas before 2020 is out, and if they do get it, I can get a prescription. I don't know, but at this point, you cannot be out of school forever. That's not going to work either. You must go back to school. When is the sweet spot? Is it September? Is it
right? And this is why, in my opinion, that they're pushing these vaccines. They're pushing that this is the antidote in order to prevent or to reduce that.
Well, first of all, that vaccine is so far, people don't do research. First of all, the average time it takes to create a vaccine is 10 years. The average time. People don't realize that, because by the time we see the vaccine, we think it was fast. No, it was in the works for about 10 years. Now, even if you go quickly, 4 years is very fast for a vaccine. This Fauci fool, I don't love Fauci. People love Fauci. I've been questioning Fauci for a long time. He's liking this attention, and he's kind of going with the flow to get attention. He likes that people know his name now. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the credentials, but he's playing too many games with his credentials. And to me, a doctor shouldn't be playing those games with his credentials. Fauci knows there will not be no vaccine in 18 months. No vaccine.
Right. At least no safe vaccine.
Right. If there's a vaccine, I don't do vaccines even if it took 10 years. You shouldn't take no vaccine that came up in 18 months.
No, I agree. And then I have to say, what colleges have to worry about is they have to worry about lawsuits. because if, when, I heard about a number of lawsuits from parents and students who had to go home because of the coronavirus and said, I'm paying all this money and I'm getting taught online. It's not worth it. So now you have students going back and they catch coronavirus and they got to go home. So this is a really sticky situation. And I'm going to tell you, nobody knows what to do. Even, I'm asking professors across the board, and, people are getting different directives every week about what will happen, what might happen, what may happen, and everything. Even like USC was going to have on-campus classes. And then this week they said, nah, we're going totally online once those numbers spike. So it's a sticky situation.
I'm in school getting my master's at the School of Visual Arts. Now, the School of Visual Arts, we got notification that we're going back the 28th of September. I'm worried about going back to school my damn self. So like, I am going to have to make some decisions. Like, I feel we should be online. That's just me. Now, if they don't do that and I have to physically go back, I'm going to have to make my own judgments. So I'm going to have to see, because they wrote all the protocols. I'm going to have to see, because, well, am I in this room? Can I social distance? I have to see how they're situating things. And if I go in a room where there's a class and I can't socially distance for 6 feet and I'll have my mask on, I'm gonna go right to the person that's running the program and say, listen, Rose, I can't be in that classroom. It's not social. I don't feel safe in that classroom. I need 6 feet or more social distancing. So now, are they able to do that? I will have to see. They're going to be doing these protocols. I don't know, but I'm not going to put myself in a position to catch the coronavirus because I have conditions, and then I'm over 50. I'm 56. Now, here's what else is going to be interesting. I wonder if these schools, colleges, boards of education of different states are going to make parents sign these. I'm not signing jack.
If something happens to me, I can't sue. I forgot the legal term for the forms, but I totally think that's going to happen. Especially, I had a couple of parents, colleagues who are parents, who were saying that they've been getting some very weird ass questionnaires. They have children who are in middle school, and one colleague showed the questionnaire and it said, "Did you breastfeed your child?" It's what? Yeah. So if they're going to have these very weird questionnaires, there's going to be a form that says, in the case or that something might happen, you have no legal authority to sue if you want your child to come to school.
Yeah, I'm not signing that. So I for sure wouldn't sign that. So even if they're saying your kid has to go back to school and they say, in order to go back, you have to sign it, I'm not signing that. And I'm going to sue you. If you tell me that in order to sign that my kid, if I don't sign it, my kid can't go back, I'm about to sue you. Even if I'm not signing nothing with the School of Visual Arts to go back to school. I'm gonna just walk in it and I'm gonna say I'm uncomfortable signing. No, I'm not signing that. And then I'm gonna say, so are you saying if I don't sign that, I'm not allowed in school? I want to get some clarity.
And I'm really interested to know. I don't even know, even at my university, like who is making these decisions? Like how are they coming together? Yeah, with these ideas and these plans when the people who are fundamentally going to be affected don't even have any kind of like, well, what do you think should happen? This is a conundrum. So we shall definitely see on that.
But there again, to bottom line it for you, there's no way around it. We're going to have to start school at some point. I think that making those efforts with those particular protocols is still great. Will that stop the spread? No. Will that slow it down some? Sure, if you do these protocols. But are kids going to be able to be diligent? Absolutely not. Some kids will catch it, some kids won't, because kids can't be diligent. They're not going to walk. Like I keep these hand sanitizers in my pocket with alcohol. Wipe. Kids ain't walk with hand sanitizer, wiping down the desk, wiping down the computer, wiping down the locker every single time they touch the desk when they change classes and come back in. They're not doing all that. They can't be diligent. It's impossible.
You're right. And even teachers, and there are some teachers that are not diligent with their own personal hygiene.
Correct.
That's a whole other story.
Correct.
Okay. So, so moving on.
Teachers, but
and just thinking about the coronavirus, this is just kind of like a side note. I wonder what professional and college sports is going to look like.
That's another thing. Now, I used to run track. right? And I was taking that conversation on with somebody about the Olympics. Remember the Olympics was supposed to be in Japan?
Yes.
I told somebody around the first week of April, I said, Japan's trying to hold, I was on the press list and I was getting press releases. Oh, we're taking these precautions, we're doing this. I told Shangzi he was going to do something on the Olympics and he was going to go there for his senior thesis. I said, you're not going to the Olympics. I said that way back the last part of March. I said, there's no way with sports that you could be safe, not one sport, because every single sport you can name is a contact sport. Every single sport in the Olympics or every single sport, you touch bodily fluids some kind of way. The only sport that you might not, I don't know if it's in the Olympics, is golf, but they share those balls. But for the most part, you have your own irons and your own ball. But other than that, tennis, they touch balls. You might have your own racket, but I touch those balls and serve and you serve. We're touching the ball. Sweat on my hands. There's no sport that you don't get an exchange of bodily fluids.
And even when you're doing something individually, like you're doing, well, I'm sorry, that's in the Winter Olympics, but even like the ski thing, whatever it is that you've got to stand on before they say go, you're holding something. There's just a lot of, there's just a lot of people's DNA just traveling around everywhere.
Even skateboarding, when you touch your skateboard, you're swooping and skating and you pick up your board and you flip it, you don't touch the same floor that they touch on your skateboard. Like there's some safer sports, not as bad. It's not as much body contact with a skier or a skateboarder or a bowler who bowls. But when you roll your ball down the bowling thing and touch the pins, that person's ball touched the pins and roll down the same lane. Are you going to wipe the lane down and wipe the pins down? You're going to touch people's, it's a little less dangerous than a wrestler because you're in people's crotches if you're a wrestler, but it's still, there's no sport where you don't at some point get access to somebody's bodily fluids, saliva, urine, whatever's on their hands, the feces, however, blood.
And the thing that, as somebody who has a nephew who's about to go to college and has hopes on playing football, is very,
football.
Oh yeah, it's a nasty, dirty, booty crack, sweat and blood.
Total contact sport.
Yeah, total contact sport.
Yep.
But a lot of these schools and even cities that have football franchises, they bank on the money that's being made. And so it's kind of like, in my opinion, kind of like this new age slave system of, we can't take this away. This is our money makers. These are our bucks, are our money makers. So this is going to be really interesting. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Even baseball, you heard about baseball. They started out with baseball camp starting out now. Now, just as of this week, they done found out a whole bunch of men from the baseball teams got coronavirus now. Since the camps have been back to camp and trying to practice. And they're trying to make it so-called safe where they have 2 sessions where only these many practice now and those many practice now, but you can't do it because you're touching the same ball, you're hitting bats and you're running from one thing. It's just, you can't, the umpire's there and you got the person throwing the ball and you touch and you hitting it with your bat and you don't touch the bat and the ball. It's just too much.
Yeah, right, no. And thinking of sports and professional sports, the National Football League, the NFL, recently announced that during the first week of games that they are going to play the Black National Anthem.
Yes.
I am laugh on that.
Lift every voice and sing to the earth in hell. Put your hands together, y'all. Put your hands together, y'all. I'm here for it.
And Colin Kaepernick still does not have a job.
Well, let me just correct you. I mean, I don't want to hurt the man, but can we please stop saying Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job?
Okay.
Stop saying.
Oh, here's a Lisa Durden correction. Here we go.
Correction. Colin Kaepernick is a rich ass brand.
That's true.
He wasn't fired from a job. He no longer plays football. So please stop saying that. Lisa Durden doesn't have a job. I was fired from Essex County College. And no one seems to care if I get my job back. That was an actual job. So Colin Kaepernick is rich. Now, I don't feel sorry for him on a financial level. I stand by him because of the reason why they put him out. But in terms of the residuals, there was no suffrage on his end financially. He suffered nothing on that side. It was just the wrongness of it that I'm standing by. But please stop saying he doesn't have a job, because he does. He's a brand.
I have to agree. Now, I have to agree with you on that. Yeah, the Black National Anthem. This is, to me,
I love it.
a one. I, as somebody who grew up singing the national anthem, all 3 verses of it, and knowing it, I think that this is one of the more egregious attempts of pandering and these symbolic gestures that do nothing for all of the things that are going on particularly in the NFL, with contracts to exploitation of workers. Mm-hmm. You got the Washington Redskins. You have all of these things that really need to be changed. So 1 week of the Black National Anthem, for me,
it's not gonna,
like, whatever. I mean, that's why I had to.
I'm here for it, but be real clear. That smoke and mirrors ain't fooling me. The NFL needs to make sure that we're at the top of that organization in decision-making positions. Otherwise, all you're doing is smoke and mirrors. I'm very aware of that. So even if you gave Colin Kaepernick a position on the football team, you didn't do nothing. The racism still ensues. So until you have Black football team owners, Black people in the upper management of the NFL, the decision-making positions in the NFL, I don't know what the titles are called. I don't watch football. Directors, I don't know
general managers,
whatever. Until they're Black, I'm not hearing you.
So that is a to be continued. That is if there is an NFL.
Correct. Correct.
So I said last week I was going to report or revisit the Charles Booker versus Amy McGrath in Kentucky. Well, Charles Booker unfortunately lost. Amy McGrath won. A lot of people were talking about, yet again, this is another incident of voter disenfranchisement,
right?
Of how, where a lot of his supporters and voters did not have the opportunity to vote because of the lack of voting machines and polling places. So he, Representative Booker, because he's a state rep, so I'm going to keep fighting and I'm going to keep holding the Democratic establishment and just even politics, holding them accountable and moving forward. So I salute. I salute.
Absolutely. Like the thing that happened to what's her name in Georgia?
Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams. So that was like totally an egregious example of what he's saying. It happens constantly. Yeah.
As we wrap up, I said let's end on some. Let's do some gossip.
Can we talk? Can we talk for a minute? Yes. Can we spill the? People say spill the tea. I don't just spill tea, boo boo. I spill the strong, hot Lipton tea. Because have you ever seen Lipton tea? It looks like coffee.
Yes.
That tea is black.
Keep you up for 30 days. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Boing, 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 boing. Let's talk about Lipton tea.
Yes. So, for me, I don't know about you, but I need daily just to get away. And I heard about this August Alsina. I used to be an entertainment reporter, so that will always be a part of it, as much as I roll my head back.
I doing social. I started doing pop culture in the beginning. I turned into this kind of extra Black chick because I just was forced to talk about Black stuff. But I do like a little, nothing talk or stupid talk for no reason. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think I was the reverse, but I love that side of me. I have a whole staple of ratchet shit that I got to listen to. Oh. So when I heard about August Alsina, who had been rumored to be in rumored to be in a relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith, who admitted that she and Will have kind of like this non-traditional marriage. I really didn't care, when I heard about it, because it is, whatever it is you want to do. But now what had happened was he comes out and he talks about it. Please give me your thoughts. I have so much to say.
Well, before I say this, just you guys, now, Jada Pinkett Smith had her reps put out some comments that denied it. I'm guessing they came from her reps, but then it didn't stop the ball from bouncing. Now the next iteration of her is now she's saying she's going to bring herself to the red table talk. Don't know the day, but according to her platforms, if it's her making these statements, she herself, it's time for her to bring herself to the red table. So that's forthcoming. And I'm going to be listening and watching to find out if she keeps it real. So that's on the side. Now, get back to the point. Do I believe August Alsina? Absolutely. Too many details.
He was on his knees, girl, in that interview. Woo! That is a brother that I said, oh, that's somebody that he got, his nose was OPEN. She whipped him. She put that thing on him. I'm sorry.
Head back and forth. I whipped my head back and forth. Yeah, so now there's so many things to unpack, but I'll just say the gist. So now I saw him talk to Angela Yee. It did about an hour interview. I've seen a couple little small clips from other interviews. Now, do I believe that he had a conversation with Will and said, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what's going on. Do I have your blessings? Do I believe that happened? Yes. Do I believe that Will gave him his blessings? Yes. Do I believe all the rumors about the marriage over the years that they were in an open relationship? I don't know, because they kept denying it. Even they talked about on the Red Table Talk that they never had an open marriage. I'll leave that out to I don't know. I don't automatically think no. I think it's possible many people do it. But I do feel like that I believe them. They did talk about that they had actually at some point broken up in their marriage. They did say that at the Red Table Talk before. I've seen many people break up inside the home. The key goes in the door and you're broken up inside the marriage. They actually said that before. So now what does that mean? If that's true, because they themselves said it, that they have broken up in their marriage just to reconstruct their marriage, and now they don't even say marriage, they call life partnership. In that breakup period, they didn't say, when you look at the Red Table Talk, it's like 45 minutes. You can't say everything in an hour. They didn't say it was for 4 months or 2 years. I don't know the timeline. Is it possible in the marriage breakup that they were like, listen, I'm not fucking with you. You ain't fucking with me. You do you, I do me. And he was seeing people, she was seeing people. Do I think that's possible? Yes. If you're telling me you're broken up in your marriage, you just didn't walk out the door, you just share a space, that means you do what you want to do and I don't have nothing to say. That's possible. Was that the period where there's the Alsina thing going on? It's possible. So I don't know the timeline, but do I think she was dropping it like it was hot on that young whippersnapper? Absolutely. She was tearing it up. Yep.
Yes. She totally. You have I really like the way that you assessed it and you broke it down. I have a very cynical.
Oh, let's hear it.
In just terms of the industry and all of the stuff that I saw, I don't know, honestly, I don't know why people are so, if there are people who express shock that they have had partners or people outside of their marriage. That is the standard a lot in the entertainment industry, especially if you are mainstream and you've reached a certain upper echelon. People are throwing themselves at you left and right. I mean, I worked in entertainment and I worked in the political space. It's the very same thing. Power. You have power. You have visibility. You have this charisma. You have this appeal. You getting all type of stuff is slapping you in the face, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that it's like, there are people in the military, when they get deployed, a lot of people say, well, we have an understanding. When I'm deployed, we're not married. But when we come, when I come back, it's the same thing in the entertainment industry. So do I think that, so I don't know what Jada Pinkett Smith is going to say, but I do know this is me and here's the bohemian part. So put it like this. Do I think that they had a relationship? Yes, I think they had a relationship. Do I care? I don't give a fuck if they had a relationship or not. I really, honestly, I don't. To me, Will and Jada, when you're in a public space, it's very hard to manage a whole bunch of stuff. And they're in a public space, their kids are in a public space. Jada Pinkett's mother is in a public space, right? So it doesn't necessarily concern me if that happened. What my major takeaway is that I hope those who are young and wanting to come up and go in the industry understand that there are a lot of, you know, excuse my language, but pussy and dick politics that go on. And so just be very wary of the people that you attach yourself, huh?
Well, that's not this. This was not a pussy dick politics.
No, no. Yes,
No.
Hold on for a minute. Let me tell you what makes it. Okay, yeah. So for me, what makes it that this is my thing. This is my assessment. My assessment of it is that I believe that when the relationship happened, they all had an understanding. Right. Whatever happened, it was something that happened that was so profound that he had to talk about and eventually address it. Right. Which he did, which went against the agreement that they had. This is the political stuff, right? Oh, okay. So this is the political thing to where Jada, who has now this certain type of image that she has on the red table talk, being this ultra deep, I've ascended, blah 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 blah. And I'm not saying that in a dismissive way. Right. That it kind of goes against, in ways, what she is presenting. Hence, the reason why she denied it initially. Right. Right. So that's what I mean about the politics, right? No. And then I don't know if you heard this part, but August Alsina said that he actually told them that this interview was coming out and that he said things about the relationship. So them acting surprised is some bullshit, right?
Nothing made me think they acted surprised. Where did they get from? I didn't get that. Here's the thing. Let me just correct you.
You're not correcting me.
This one part. Yes, I agree with you that this happens in entertainment, but when I say correct you, let me expand on that. I've seen regular, what you call doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, postal workers go to sex parties, wife swapping, husband swapping, orgies. It's not an entertainment thing. That's what I mean by that part. But we keep saying entertainment. All kinds of people, and I know the one girl I know, I ain't gonna name no names, she wanted herself and two men, and the man she was seeing brought his cousin in, and she looks like a librarian, and she had herself and two men. I said, you do it, girl. So people do that. So I don't think it's more done in entertainment than it's done with people, period. Whether you're from mopping floors or you are the president of the United States and all in between. It's just a people thing. It ain't for me. That's some nasty shit. It ain't for me. But I've always said, if you're grown and all parties agree, I'm not one to judge. So just when I say correct you on that. So yeah. But to get back to this, here's what I think this was a simple case of. Oh, by the way, she met him, her son introduced her to Alsina, you know. Jaden brought the dick to the house. I don't know if he knew it was going to turn into that, but that's how she met the fam, through Jaden, just sidebar. So now, real quick, this could be in anywhere USA, any level USA, any person USA. We've heard of the phrase booty call and jump off, right? So even if, we don't know what she's gonna say at the red table talk, but even if she comes clean and says it was an agreement and understanding and fine, somebody done messed up that game, and it wasn't Jada. It's him. You ain't nothing but a piece of ass. Did you not get that, homie? And this is why I tell people men can't do booty calls. They say we can't, y'all can't. You get emotional. You can't do a jump off. At the end of the day, you were nothing but a piece of hot meat for Jada. I'm assume during the breakup that y'all discussed on the red table talk that y'all had or whenever it happened, and you knew what that was. So therefore you caught feelings and you played yourself. So I don't feel nothing for Alsina because you should have just kept that pushing, but you did not. That you know there was no relationship with a married woman who's already in a relationship. And he was talking about how he loved her and all. You played a game with your own heart. She did nothing to you. You victimized yourself.
Now, I mean, this is relationships. Everybody defines their own relationship, right? You know what I'm saying? True. And so I mean, somebody that young as him who might not have ever experienced those type of strong emotions got strung out in every way, shape possible. I mean, I hear somebody who sexually got turned out, emotionally and spiritually got, you know, and once that ended for whatever reason, you know, he's still trying to find his space or place.
Because now here's what I think happened. Now this is Lisa saying this part. I'm reading between the lines, because in the interview, if you remember her saying, you know, so they went past that and talked about other things and other relationships. And she said, have you ever lived with anybody? He said, yes. He didn't say who. I think all that happened. He lived there, because he did say in the early interview with her that they vacationed together. So I think in the beginning, it was a thing where, oh, that's Jaden's friend. And all. It was a thing where, oh, come on with us to vacation. So it was one of those things where I think he got kind of comfy, cozy with having the family. He never had his father abuse his mother. And he grew up, you know, he was raped by somebody. He didn't say who. And so I'm not for sure how that affected him in the trauma. So I think there was that first. I think that happened first. The acceptance, you're part of the family. I think he lived there. And then I think, this is my timeline, just so people know this is my personal timeline that I think how it unfolded. Then the get down happened. And all that started to merge together, marinate like a pot of soup. And all the ingredients started to like each other. That part, if it happened that way, or even if it happened after the get down and you lived there, it became too much.
Jada Pinkett is a Virgo. Here's my bohemianness.
I love Virgo.
Huh? You like Virgos?
My sister's a Virgo. Yeah, I like
okay.
Virgo. Mm-hmm.
I have one of my sisters is a Virgo. Jada is a Virgo. Beyonce is a Virgo. And one thing I know about Virgos, they present very well in public, and they will lie, but it will be so good that even though you know they lying, you'll be like, yeah, you know what? But that does make sense. But that's her prerogative.
The last thing I'll say about why he started talking about it. So in this part, I agree with him if what he's saying is true. He said he had to come out and talk about it because of how he was getting dragged, about the rumors. There were rumors being spread about him, about how he broke up the family and he did these things. So he kept taking the heat for this and felt like, why is his name being dragged in the mud? So he felt the need to speak on it because however the rumors began, the rumors were coming out as if he's some kind of monster, as if he did something wrong, as if he was, breaking up a happy family, a happy home, and how he's some kind of like, bad dude. This is the reason he claims that he had to speak his truth. I don't know what is that truthful? Is it, I could believe it. And then people want to say, oh, he was on drugs. So wasn't he a drug addict? He was on the Red Table Talk last year. So she interviewed him about drug addiction and stuff like that and addictions. So what? He was a drug addict or is, I'm not for sure if he's still on drugs. Does it mean he's lying? Right. People like to use things that dismiss you because they know it's easy, lowbrow way to dismiss a person. But I don't dismiss you because you're not on drugs. My mother used to always say, don't ever underestimate anybody because you never know who's who and what's what.
That's right.
Even a bum in the street.
I want to thank you so much. We're running out of time. Lisa, crap. I will check in with you next week. Make sure you check in with Black Bodies. Stop Brutalizing Black Bodies podcast. Yes. It is also published on Arc Republic. Lisa, 20 seconds.
20 seconds is y'all just keep yourself away from the Romans as much as possible. Don't believe the hype. Don't drop your guard. Keep that distancing and that mask on. Even if your kids can't, you try to do it to the best of your knowledge, because the bottom line is, if we all sick, we can't make no money. I say, run from the Romans.